What's going on, you guys? Today I'm going to be talking about 3 new ways to shoot videos on the iPhone. So the iPhone 13s, which are the models from this year. So if you're wondering what these 3 modes are, I'm talking about ProRes video format, I'm talking about the standard camera video mode, and I'm talking about cinematic video modes. 2 of those ways to shoot are new this year on the iPhone 13s, but one of them you're already probably familiar with, the standard video camera. But when I first got the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is what I have right here, I decided to start shooting more videos with my iPhone 13 because I make a lot of videos for social media. Having something that's handy and easy to use, faster to bring out, and still gives you good quality, it's been quite hard to find, at least for me. So having this phone with these new modes are awesome. When you first open the camera app on the iPhone 13, the first thing you see is the photo section, and then you can swipe left to see the video section. So that video section, the first one you come upon, is the first video mode we're talking about right now, the standard video camera. So this video mode gives you access to the 3 upgraded cameras on the iPhone 13s, the wide, ultra wide, and the telephoto lens. So you can shoot with all 3 of them. You can also shoot high dynamic range videos, so HDR videos with higher color fidelity and better brightness, even better contrast. So for the HDR videos, you want to make sure that you have it enabled in your camera settings. So if that's not enabled, you will not be shooting HDR videos. The videos will be standard definition, so SDR instead. Okay, so for ProRes, what you need to know is it is not a video mode. So this is not a video mode like cinematic or standard video mode. This is a video format. ProRes is a high quality lossy video compression format by Apple used in post-production. It's already widely used as a final delivery format for HD broadcast files like commercials, Blu-ray, streaming, etc. It's essentially a low compression format of the standard camera. So whenever you open up the standard camera, there's going to be a ProRes icon at the top that you can turn on and turn off. If you don't have that option on your iPhone, then there's 2 reasons why. One of them is you probably don't have one of the Pro models. So if you have the iPhone 13 mini or the regular iPhone 13, you're not going to have access to ProRes. The second reason is if you haven't already turned it on or enabled it in the camera app settings. So go ahead and check your settings menu to do that, and you're pretty much good to go from there. Once you have that enabled, all you have to do is open up the camera app and then switch to the standard camera and toggle ProRes on or off. So it's that simple. And since this is a part of the standard video camera, you can also access the ultra wide, wide, and telephoto lens shooting in ProRes. And just like the standard video mode, you can also shoot ProRes video format with HDR. ProRes was designed mainly for professionals. Anybody can use it. I'm not saying it's for only a specific set of people, but professionals are the kind of people that would adjust color, temperature, and do a lot of, edits in post-processing that affect quality of a video. Cinematic mode. This one's drawn a lot of hype. A lot of people have been talking about this one since the beginning all the way till now. It's a very new mode on the iPhone 13. The new cinematic mode is essentially a video version of the portrait photo mode that's already on the iPhones. When you're shooting in cinematic mode, you're going to get a blurred background effect, a bokeh effect that allows you to draw focus to one subject and create that cinematic vibe, cinematic look. You've already seen it. You've seen this in movies. You've seen this on YouTube. You've seen it in TV shows. It's all over the place. It's not anything new, but now it's come to the iPhone. In cinematic mode, you can also control the amount of blur effect that you get while shooting. If you're already used to shooting with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, then the f-stop idea shouldn't be new to you. So the higher the f-stop, the less the blur effect. And the lower the f-stop, the more the blur effect. It can also cause problems with, going out of focus, whatever subject that you have on there whenever you have your f-stop at a low point, say f2.0. You will get a lot of blur effect in the background, but also note that even the character you're trying to draw focus to might also get some blurring around the edges. So it might not look the best if you're at f2.0. So when you're shooting in cinematic mode, a good amount to start or to shoot at is about 2.3 to 2.5. I think the phone sets it to 2.8 by default or 2.5, whichever one it is. Just make sure that you're starting at that point and shooting with that whenever you want to shoot in this mode. You can always go ahead and shoot at f2.0. There's nothing wrong with that, but just beware that the entire subject that you're trying to keep the focus on might switch focus, and then that might become blurred out while the background is not blurred out anymore. So just make sure you note that. Like I said, it's got some drawbacks to it. This mode only has access to 2 of the upgraded cameras, the telephoto camera, and the wide camera lens. So with cinematic mode, another thing you want to know is that it's useful to anybody, professionals or non-professionals, just anybody that wants to shoot cinematic videos. This video mode is available on all the iPhone models. Okay, now let's talk about resolutions. So for the standard video mode, you have access to 5 different resolutions you can shoot at: HD 30, HD 60, 4K 24, 4K 30, and 4K 60. So it has a lot of options for anyone that wants to shoot. Next up, the ProRes video format gives you access to some resolutions, but not every single one. So if you have the 128GB version of any of the Pro model iPhones, then you're only going to be limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second. You won't be able to shoot a 1080p HD at 60 frames per second, or even any 4K footage at any frame rate. So you're only limited to one resolution at one frame rate with the 128GB version. So if you have the 256GB version, which I've got right here, or anything above from that point, then your options grow a little bit more. So you gain access to shooting ProRes at 1080p 60, as well as 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second. So no 60 frames per second on any of the Pro models or any of the iPhones. So we're all limited to shooting at 4K 30 frames per second. And for all professionals shooting ProRes video format with the iPhone 13 Pros, this is a huge limitation. Finally, for cinematic mode, there's literally only one frame rate and resolution you can shoot at. So 1080p at 30 frames per second, and that's it. And this applies to every single iPhone 13 model. It doesn't matter which one. And that's a huge limitation to that mode, at least for me. I'm not going to be using that mode a lot because I already don't shoot a lot of videos in 1080p format. So shooting 1080p format for me just to use the cinematic mode camera is not worth it to me. As for the file formats, quality, and sizes for all 3 different ways to shoot, the first of them, the standard video mode, uses compressed video format. So this is what differentiates it from the ProRes video formats with its larger file sizes. The compressed video format does not offer flexibility to edit in post-process. There's also 2 versions of the compressed file formats that you have access to. You can switch between the both of them in the camera settings. So file formats within your camera app settings. The thing is, with the first one, the HEVC or HEIF format, you get even smaller compressed file sizes, which are great for the most efficient use of storage space on the iPhone 13 or any of the iPhones. HEVC or HEIF also has limited compatibility across different applications, platforms, and all of that. If you're not going to be using it with other Apple devices or softwares, then you might want to go ahead and use the one with more compatibility. So there is a second compressed format, which is known as H.264 or JPEG. So that one is still a compressed file format, but not as small as the first one we just talked about. But it's more compatible, so you can use it across multiple different editing platforms and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And since ProRes is a new format that you can shoot in, it's similar to the last 2 we've just talked about, except it's not compressed. So it's a lossy video format. So ProRes videos take up a lot of storage. I'll be honest with you guys, it's a lot. And that's why the 128GB version of the iPhone 13 Pros does not have access to anything above 1080p at 30 frames per second for shooting ProRes, because 1 minute of ProRes at 4K 30 frames per second takes up 6 gigabytes of data, and that's huge. 1 minute of the same ProRes video shot at 1080p will take up 1.7 gigabytes of storage space. So in order to really enjoy ProRes this year, or at least get the best out of it, you're gonna wanna opt for one of the higher memory iterations or storage iterations for the iPhone 13. So I'm talking 256 and above. As for the new cinematic video mode, it uses the same compressed file formats as the standard video camera. So I think this new video mode was designed for just about everybody as well. Like I said, no post-processing means pretty much shoot and you're done. If you want to do more, then you shoot with ProRes. Maybe they're going to make it so we can shoot cinematic video mode in ProRes format at some point. All right, so in summary, the standard video mode will be best suited for the average user. So anyone that has no experience, doing post-processing and has no idea what ProRes is about or cares at all about it. Standard video also offers the most options for frame rates and resolutions, and nobody can complain about more options. It's also available on every single iPhone 13 model, so you don't have to think twice about which model you have to use this mode. Just know that it's already there. It's the default mode in general. As for the all-new cinematic mode, we're limited to shooting at only 1080p at 30 frames per second, so only one resolution at one frame rate. And for me, that's not gonna cut it. And I know that applies to most of you guys out there. We all want to shoot 4K videos using the cinematic mode camera, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen on this year's iteration of the iPhones. And I hope that comes to future versions of the iPhone. It's still fairly new and it's only available on all models of the iPhone 13. So prior models do not have access to cinematic mode. Finally, the ProRes video format is very new. And the thing is, it's only available on the Pro model iPhone. So if you don't have one of those, forget about this video format completely. Just ignore it. Just forget it. It's not for you at that point, unless you want to go ahead and upgrade your iPhone 13 to an iPhone 13 Pro or Pro Max. But only do that if you intend to do a lot of post-processing. If not, it's going to be a waste of money for that phone. You're not going to use the ProRes video format. I only shoot short clips in ProRes video format, gym workouts, stuff like that. So when I shoot those, I can edit them in post-processing, you know, because I like to do that for my videos that I shoot with my DSLR camera or my mirrorless camera. So doing it with the iPhone, I've always hated that I can't do anything, you know, in post-processing. ProRes video format can also see some improvement in resolution. So I'm hopeful that we get something above 4K at 30 frames per second, especially for slow motion videos. That's huge for me right there, man. If we can get 4K at 60 or 4K at 120 frames per second, it's going to be awesome. Okay, so that's basically it between all three of these modes. I'd like you guys to let me know down in the comment section, after listening to what you've heard, what you think about these three modes and whichever ones you prefer to use the most. Which ones do you currently use the most on your iPhone 13 or 13 Pro? I hope you guys have found it useful or enjoyable to watch. If you did, you already know what to do. Spam that like button below the screen right now. And go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, as well as the bell icon right next to the subscribe button to turn on notifications so you're one of the first to be notified whenever I post new videos. I will see you guys in my next video. It's Midas, and I'm out of here, y'all.